Once I was invited by an old-time friend of mine to come up to his residence and test his beer and wine. We ate a lobster salad and a lot of other truck, and drank each other's health until the hour of 3 had struck. Well, we drank until we could not tell which was wine or beer, till our heads were rather heavy and our brains not very clear. Well, when I got home, my prayers I think I said, but I was paralysed when I climbed into bed. When I died and went to heaven, and found repentance now is for me too late, when suddenly I was ushered before the golden gate. What will you have, said St. Peter. Don't you know you can no come in? For surely you will suffer for your greedy glutton sin. I stepped aside and said no more. I hung my head in shame. St. Peter's clerk, who stood close by, wrote lost against my name. The next fellow to come was an Italian, a friend who I knew well. So I waited patiently to hear the tale that he might tell. Good San Pietro, I come at you at last. My peanut days are over, my banana nights are past. I treat my neighbour like myself, and no beg, no rob, no steal. And never on the sidewalk I throw my banana peel. You get out, cried Peter. Your gains were ill-begotten. Your peanut shells were empty. Your bananas oft times rotten. And so the Italian stepped aside, and I saw a tear come in his eye. And he came and stood beside me, and he heaved a heavy sigh. Then came an aged Hebrew with a satchel in his hand, and there in front of the gate in old St. Pete, the Sheeny took his stand. So, Father Peter, let me tell you what I will do. I have jewelry fit for angels, and I will auction half for you. I could sell it on the installment plan, but that would be a sin. But I'll give it to you at just half price, if you will only let me in. On earth I ran a clothing store. My goods were nice and strong. To show you I had an overcoat, I forgot to fetch along. Then you did well, said Peter, for surely you must know there's little use for overcoats where you will have to go. And so the Hebrew stepped aside, and as he was a friend of mine, just like me in the Dago, he sashayed into line. Then came an old maid from England, one who was bound to have her say, and she began addressing Peter in a most peculiar way. Oh, mercy me gracious, here I am, after gossiping many a year. Open the gates and let me in, or I'll catch cold out here. I'll need a first-class pair of wings, a silver shield, and then I won't be afraid of all those naughty, naughty men. No, said Peter bluntly, no angels have grey hair, and as you've got no sons or daughters, you'd be a stranger there. Well, the poor old maid just wilted. Now she must evermore repine, and just like me and all the rest, she took her place in line. Then came a German, now paralysed with fear, who on earth had oft times paralysed his customers with beer. Oh, good Father Peter, I come to you free from sin, and I will ask you only eine favor, das is if you will let me in. On earth my wife she ran away from me, and to hide mine shame I cried, and went down to the river and committed the suicide. Then you be gone, said Peter, and suffer thy disgrace. You came before I sent for you, and I cannot make a place. So the German stepped aside and said, Oh God, oh mine. And just like me and all the rest, he took his place in line. Then came poor Paddy, a son of old Aaron's oil, and he began addressing Peter with his most gracious smile. Well, is it yourself, St. Peter, looking so nice and sweet? Have you clerk to open the gate and show me to my seat? Hold, said Peter, your case, like all the rest, must first be tried, and you'll have to show a passport before we let you inside. Well, hurry up, says Paddy, or for supper I'll be late. And Paddy purposely takes off his old slouch hat and threw it inside the gate. Go get thine hat, says Peter, thou sacrilegious lout. And Paddy went in and slammed the gate and locked St. Peter out. And through the keyhole Paddy cries, I'm master now, you see, but I'll give up heaven, gate and crown if you set all Ireland free. Well, when I awoke, my head was crushed between the bed and wall. The sheets were tangled round my feet. 'Twas the lobster done it all.